Welcome to the Nairn County Podcast, which is brought to you in association with our digital partner Ziyen Energy, the leading blockchain software and digitalisation experts leading the field in emerging technologies related to oil and gas tokenisation. For more, go to ziyen.com. The final part of this episode sees Callum Donaldson talk to Graham McLeod about his regret at not being able to clinch a league championship medal during his time at Station Park. Carl will also give an insider's view on the epic Scottish Cup run of 2012, and he's going to bring us right up to date with what's happening with his coaching at Houston Dynamo. We really hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please like, please share, and maybe recommend the Nairn County Podcast to a friend.
The next season, Connor Gethins and Sean Webb arrive, and we still have players like Stephen Mackay, Dale Gillespie, David Hine. They're all still here. But it's Forest who win the league, and it's just a tally of 77 points was all it took. We're by 11 points behind them. Was that a missed opportunity?
So that was a season, that season really pissed me off, if I'm honest with you, mate. I hated Forest, always had hated Forest. They were just a horrible team to play against. Even the football they played that year was horrible. It was Sam Allardyce, Tony Pulis football. It was low percent. I mean, they were good. They were the best team in the league, and they beat us. I remember them celebrating when they beat us at banging on our walls and all that sorts of stuff. And they just manned the league. They didn't, like, we were a better team, but they were better men, and they won the league by being just brutes, to be honest with you. Because I really did feel that we should have. I don't know if that was a year. I felt like maybe the year after. I think it was the year after we were closer. Again, we weren't close enough. We weren't close as we should have been. But yeah, that year was a tough one to take, especially Forest winning the league. You know, and the players that we had, but we had all the pieces that year. We just didn't put them together.
The following season, 2012, 2013 season, you touched on a little bit there. Probably, in my view, your finest hour in an Nairn shirt. We maybe ran out of steam a little bit in the league, but that was probably due to the amount of big, massive games that we had in the early half of the season, starting with the Scottish Cup run. After we beat Preston, we're drawn away to Clyde down there, and it's a 3-3 draw, and it could have gone either way, and it's back and forth. I think we were in the lead a couple of times, certainly in that game. Do you think, having been clawed back to 3-3, that we'd blown it on the day?
Honestly, that's a bizarre thing to say, right? Because you don't really have the right to say that. But I actually feel like on the day we should have beat them. But then after that game, I honestly feel like on the bus we were like, I think I was sitting talking to Webby. I was like, we'll beat them at home. Like, I honestly did believe it. The goals, obviously Easter scored an unbelievable goal. We'll not talk about that enough. I think he's talked about it more than anything else. But like, as I say, with boys like Connor, like, we were always capable of scoring a goal. RD, he'll create chances for anybody. So now I honestly feel like that game is a bit of a blur, if I'm honest with you. The game down there, it's also on the artificial surface. So, like, as a goalkeeper, you are shiting yourself the whole time because it could do crazy little things, you know. But I don't know why, but I honestly felt like when we're going back up on the bus, I'm like, we'll beat them at home.
Yeah, the replay, the main highlight of that for you, not only do you make a tremendous double save, but you then make a penalty save, which, if that goes in, then that's curtains, I suppose. But talk us through that moment. They'd obviously already scored one earlier in the match, I think, as well. Did that play a part in it?
Yeah, so they had scored one earlier in the match, and actually, so they scored in the first half, and actually RD, glorious man that he is, but he's like, how did you not save that? He told you about 4 hours before he went to take it. Where's it going? And I was like, all right, mate. So then same boy took it, and he did go the same way. But I'm not giving him any credit for it. It's all me that saved it. But yeah. So that was a great feeling. But also from that, so I saved penalty, that was good. And then from the double save, so I don't really remember, the double save was actually, the guy tried to dink me. He executed it well, and I was scrambling, and I touched it onto the bar, and then it was a 1-on-1, and I just managed to smother it, pass the ball out or kicked it out or whatever, and we went up and scored right away. That was mega. That was like Andy Neal when he scurried in at the back post and stuck that in. That was tremendous. I think I overtook a few of the boys getting to him before.
That's right.
As well. I was buzzing after that. I was up there with winning the Highland League Cup. That feeling to that game.
The next round was just as dramatic as well. We're down at Forfar away, 3-0 down at half time. What's going on in the dressing room?
So we were despondent in the dressing room, to be honest with you. We had Mo Morrison, who wouldn't really let boys get too down in the dumps, so he was kind of going around picking everybody up. But yeah, that was brutal. So I'd actually hurt my hip flexor as well in that game, so my kicking was off. But we did, I don't know, that year we had this thing in us where it was like we didn't know how to lose. Like even on that day, we had a couple of boys that probably didn't contribute huge amounts in the season, but like stood up and were counted. You know, I think Bobo scored from the halfway line, or no, was it Mo and Bobo flicked
Bobo
it,
touched it.
like that.
Yeah.
And then with Ross Naismith, I think he scored the second, or he assisted the second, or something like that. And then Franny, who I don't think he did anything else that game, and he just came in like a wee dart and did what Franny's done year in the league, and he scores. You know, so that was that was amazing. It was especially as well. So a few of my pals came down to watch me. One of the boys, he plays gigs and stuff like that. So in the first half, I didn't know this, but there were local Forfar boys, and they were giving me a bit of stick. And me being me, I'm giving it right back as hard as I could get it. Even though we're 3-0 down, I'm acting like Don Juan. And then we go and equalise, and I'm like, fuck, you're right up you. So my pal was playing a gig that night, and apparently the boys were at the gig, and they're like, hey, what from goalie? So we were giving him it thick, but by fuck, he gave us it back at the end. So yeah, that was good. But that's what football's about, you know. I remember talking about that. I remember this is way back. We were playing at Bucky away, and in mind, so this is the time where we had Duncan Jones and boys like that, and Duncan Jones is integral in this story because obviously he ping a ball. I've never seen anyone ping a ball like him. So he got the ball out wide, in the centre of the mid. Remember, he zinged this ball out to Willie Barron. It was like a dart. Brilliant pass. And Willie's wearing white and gold Predator boots. And the ball hit his shin and went out for a throw-in. And I remember a boy from Bucky was like, you're not good with that white booties, loony. And I love that's the Highland League in a nutshell. That's the best. Tremendous.
The week after the Forfar game down there, the replay at Nairn, again, it's almost do it again, don't we? It's 3-0 down and then 2 quick goals, and you're thinking if this game's going to go, if only it went on 5 or 10 minutes longer, you never know, it could have been extra time.
Yeah, so and I honestly do believe if it had gone on a little bit longer. I think even the boy at Soccer Saturday on the TV, he had said there was a bit of a rally and we'd done it before and stuff like that. And yeah, that was a tough one, but we did give ourselves too much. We were terrible at starting games then. It was almost as if we'd kind of got a little bit too confident and we'd give away sloppy goals, myself included. I know that would have been something special if we'd managed to do it again, because even if we'd got that to extra time, we would have beaten them. We wouldn't have gone to penalties. We'd have beaten them.
Tied up in the middle of these Scottish Cup ties, there was also a North of Scotland Cup final against Wick Academy at Grant Street. Probably one of your best games in the Nairn shirt. I mean, I think Wick would have been out of sight had it not been for the amount of saves that you made. Do you have any particular memories of that? Any standouts at all?
Yeah, so I remember. So Wick were a brilliant team at that point. I mean, I think they went 17 months or something unbeaten at home. They were a brilliant team, and they played football. You know, Richard McCaddy and Chucky, like hundreds of the players were brilliant players. And I remember a lot of it, you know, not to use the cliche of tiki-taka, but I remember a lot of it was like one-on-ones, and they were playing triangles, and they were through one-on-one and stuff like that. I remember I had a good free kick save. They'd bent it over the wall. It was in the top corner. I made a good save there. I remember a kind of pretty good block at the front post, which was kind of point blank range. But yeah, and I mean, it's weird when you think about, you're asking me these questions about the games in particular. It's weird because you don't really remember it at the time because you're just focused on trying to win. You know, it's only when you look back on things you start thinking about it. Like, oh yeah, you're right. I probably did quite well that day. Yeah, I mean, I do. All I remember is that Wick were a really, really good side, and it was. I feel like they might have been where we were at maybe 5-6 years before, and that they just couldn't get over that final hurdle. And the players that they had, I mean, they could have. I'm pretty sure they finished second, third in the league and things like that as well. Like they were a right good side, filled with, I mean, mostly local boys as well. So fair play to them. So it kind of did remind me a little bit of where we'd come. Yeah, it was a good feeling when JC and John Cameron and RD. Yeah, that was a good celebration that night as well. Being in Inverness as well, but straight out, don't even went back to there.
The following season, there's more headline recruitment with Archie McPhee, Stuart Leslie, Daniel Moore. Later on in the season, Alan Pollock all arriving. Again, just come up short in the league. I mean, Brora have just gone and blown everyone away that season. I think they were a massive 20 points ahead of us. Do you still think that was one that got away a little bit that season, given that the squad that we had?
Financially, we invested as much as anyone. I just feel like we what I feel like Brora did really well was they had like Grant Monroe, and they had seasoned pros that knew what it took to win. What we had at that point, I feel like we brought in immeasurable talent. The players you just mentioned there, talent-wise, we were as strong as anybody. But those boys, who a lot of them have gone on to win the leagues and win cups and things like that, but at that point in their careers, they hadn't really done it. And I feel like that's the one point that we miss. I mean, we had Mo Morrison. I think he was kind of coming to the end of his career by that point, so he was still a leader and he was still a winner. But I think physically, he was probably not quite where he would have wanted to be when he was captain and league winning teams and stuff like that. Whereas I feel like with like Grant Monroe, and I think Road at that point brought in the boy Craig, can't mind his last name. Yeah, and they had Joe Mallon, who's Jesus, what a goalkeeper he is. So they also, I think they only had a squad of about 14 regulars and then some young boys. So they all were playing every week. They were all kind of siege mentality in it together. Whereas I feel like the dynamics certainly changed for us at that point. We brought in players. The dynamic definitely changed it there, and we weren't quite as a strong unit as we had been. Personalities were different. Some of us were kind of coming to the end, but there also was quite a lot of disparity, and some boys getting paid a lot of money and things, and some boys not getting paid so much. So kind of those sort of nonsense things that don't really matter but actually do matter were definitely a factor for us at that.
Brora dropped 7 points all season that year, whereas we lost at Fraserburgh and then lost to Brora in the opening 2 games. So you're pretty much playing for second place effectively from middle August onwards. They were so good that season.
Yeah, they were just way better than us. It's as simple as that. They were way better than us. And even though we went to Cove and won that year.
That's right.
We did put it together at some places, but they were just way better than us. It's as simple as that. We talked about Xander earlier on, and while Xander is probably one of the most infuriating players I've ever played against, used to do my head in, but it's because he was such a good player. Andrew Gregg, again, they had Andrew, Gregg and Xander on each wing and Sid through the middle, and that's not bad. Yeah. At that point, they were flying. One
of the real high points though that season was the home win against Clyde, where we scored 2 goals in the last minute. Are you claiming an assist for the winner?
Shinned it, scuffed it. Yeah. Here, Les was absolutely furious at me going up for that game. You know that he was. I don't know if you remember, but he was absolutely roaring at me to get back on my goals. But that was, again, I guess for back. I just wanted to win. I just wanted to help us win. I don't know if you remember, it was actually a couple of weeks before I'd gone up for a corner against Huntley, and I'd actually had a header and I put it over the bar. He was probably thinking you're useless anyway. But I guess it just caused a bit of disruption. John Campbell was in goals that day. Yeah, and then we were all run over at the corner. All the fans were kind of congregated in one corner there. It was brilliant. I don't know if I'm claiming an assist. I was just delighted that we got the winner. That was it. That's what we had. But that season, the difference was we only had that in fits and starts. The season before, I feel like we had the confidence we would come back no matter what. But that season, it was almost only because it was Clach and only because it was our local rival. You know what I mean? And that was the difference. We kind of probably lost 5%.
So looking back at your time overall, Callum, some real highlights and some real good players that you played with and good friends that you made, and
I mean, looking back at my time is overwhelmingly positive. I mean, it's friends for life. I mean, I think many of the players that I played with over a prolonged period that I don't keep in touch with, it's a special place there, and it got under my skin for sure. And it still to this day feels like home. And yeah, as I say, I'm disappointed that, I feel like it's unfinished business. We didn't manage to deliver a league trophy, because I feel like the people of Nairn deserve that. The fans coming out. I mean, I don't know if you remember, you probably do, but the amount of people that were at Forfar, the amount of people that were at Clyde, and it's not as if these are people that are earning 200 grand a year and things like that. There's probably 3 buses. I'm sure they had a great day, but yeah, so like that's the one kind of regret that I have. We kind of won every other trophy. We didn't manage to get the league over the line, but here played in some great teams, played with some brilliant players, loved every single second of being able to play. I still miss it, to be honest. I wouldn't, if I ever did move back to Scotland, I wouldn't go and watch anything. I'd go and watch Nairn.
You then moved on to your stateside adventure, so can you get us up to speed of what's been your football involvement since you've been over there?
Yeah, so when I was with Orion, kind of a couple of visa things, it's not really that exciting, but I was able to have 2 jobs. So there's these expat lads that I met when I got here, and they get together once a month, play poker, generally a bit of a piss up, but also kind of welcoming people in and stuff like that. And one day I was playing, a boy walks in a full Houston Dynamo tracksuit, and I truthfully had promised the wife that football was going to take a bit of a step back by this point, because at one point when I was on the cusp of the first team under 18s. I was there 6 days a week, and it became my life. I loved it. So anyway, I promised football was taking a bit of a step back. So this boy walks in with Houston Dynamo tracksuit, and I think I'd been in Houston about 6 weeks living at that point. My son Brody, he was born out here. I think was just born. I'm like, we need to become very close friends. Anyway, he invited me down. We did some camps and stuff like that, and then they invited me in to kind of work with the goalkeepers. So I've been doing that. I was doing that kind of consistently with them as a kind of second job for a while now. My visas did change, so I am still involved with them, and I do still love it. And the quality of training is absolutely, for the goalkeepers, is out of this world. And there is a part of me that is resentful that I didn't have access to that when I was playing, because truthfully I was like, Americans, it won't be as good. Went down. I mean, the head goalkeeper coach has had Premier League teams in the English Premier League looking to try and move it, but it's a great place to live here. There's Nathan Thackeray. So Nathan Thackeray was the guy I met. He's now moved. He's now director of goalkeeping in the USL, Carolina. Guy comes in, Jason Grubb, and there's some other guys down there as well. Brenton Saylor's another one. So Brenton's, they've worked with the US national teams. I mean, the quality is out, and it's like a goalkeeping community. It's like a goalkeeping family that they've got, which I love. Paul Rogers, he's the director of goalkeeping, first team goalkeeping coach out there. I think he's got a PhD in common sense. The way he coaches is like a different level. It's first class. So I enjoy just learning from those guys. If I'm honest with you, Graham, I think it's in your blood. If you love the game, it's in there. So as I say, at the moment, work-wise, the work has kind of probably taken a bit more of a front seat recently, so I've not been able to do as much with them consistently as I would like to, but I still always do the camps and stuff like that. But we did a pro camp there in the winter, so we had the boys over from West Brom, and we had guys from colleges all over the US come down and working with them and stuff like that, and it's good. It's really quite interesting as well, is that, and I think there's something to do with the Highland League in it, they're not used to getting bashed around and stuff like that. So when we're doing drills, like Paul wants me to get in about them. He's like, we need to see if they're men, I love it. I love it. Hopefully, I'd like to do more, but work is pretty crazy at the moment, as I'm sure everybody's is right now. So that's taken up 150% of my time.
Finally, would you say that the Callum Donaldson Highland League book has been written, or could there be another chapter?
Nah, I would like there to be another chapter. I love coaching. I did love the coaching. I mean, I'm only 35, so you never know. Coronavirus, all this nonsense in the world. I could get shipped back to the UK. I do need to lose some LBs, but no, it's not written. I don't think so. I don't know. I'm not going to say that I'm going to take Sharpie's job or anything like that, but I would like to, if I'm ever back in Scotland, I would definitely want to be part of the Highland League in some capacity. Probably just turn up at training until Sharpie told me something to do. Yeah, because I loved it. And, I loved it, and I want to help the team do well. Yeah, no, I don't think it's closed.
Callum, it's been a pleasure catching up with you and
Thanks,
to listen
mate.
to you talk about through your career. Thanks for joining us.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much. And thank you for the club for having me for so long. Loved it.
The Nairn County Podcast is brought to you in association with our digital partners, Ziyen Energy. Click on Ziyen.com to find out more.